Welcome to another Motortown post-event race commentary. Today we got the Classics two-wheel drive rally rumble. I think I got this correct, I don't know. This is an event that happened quite a few weeks ago and I kinda kept it on the backlog. It didn't really... I wanted to put it between the two Stellar Cup races, but then that didn't happen and now I'm trying to put it between the two of the other event races that I've done recently. So it's a bit late compared to when it actually happened, but shouldn't really matter too much because these things are pretty much self-contained. So let's get going. We got three rallycross tracks with lightweight vehicles. These are actually two different classes. We got the sports retros again, but also some of the ultralights. I'm restricting the event to not use any of the all-wheel drive ultralights because I think for off-roading that would be overpowered. But I'm betting very much on the factor of the heavier, slower cars being a bit more stable and with these tracks really being um, a bit rough around the edges. I hope that it's going to be a bit of a balance. If this was all road racing, then taking the Fortum that I'm using right now, or the Miata Lookalite, that kind of thing, they wouldn't really stand a chance. And yeah, I'm once again starting in pole position. I don't know if I mentioned that before, but with these people, sometimes I like to be in first position when we start, but sometimes I would like to be further back in the field, and it often ends up being the case that I position myself some ways away from the starting line and everybody else lines up behind me, so there's really no way for me to not be in first at that point. But yeah, we got 6 people in here. Vorme being kind of the exception because I think he's the only one who is actually in one of the ultralights, so gotta keep an eye out for how he does. But yeah, we are going around the Tozen trailer dealership right here, going into Pyrosun in a moment, and then coming back around to the Orange Farm. And yeah, this time around we are back on the event server. Again, that happened a few weeks before the Sports Classics event, so no problems with the event server at that point. Yeah, just coming around over here, and there's going to be a harsh turn to the left in a moment. And if I remember correctly, I might have some issues with the braking zone here. Yeah, completely sliding past the entranceway, and I'm also ending up in front of this stone wall, so that's just slowing me down further than what I would have really liked to be. But yeah, I'm down in 4th position now, going around the little roundabout part here, which can be a really fun little thing, but I didn't really set up too well for this. Also, I'm using rally wheels, so the off-road tires, I mean. Sometimes it gives you a bit too much grip. Sometimes I would really like to slide a bit more, but then once I start sliding, stuff like this happens. So yeah, I was maybe driving the car a bit harder in the event than doing my testing, so this isn't really going my way so far. I still managed to somehow stay in 4th position, but it's been tough. And yeah, especially on this rough ground, it's not easy staying the front facing forward, and I'm really doing a tough job here just trying to keep the car on track, but yeah, might not look like that much in the recording, but it's been a really tough session with how rough some of these roads are. But yeah, everybody else in front of me is slowly getting away from me, and considering the issues that I had during the Pyrosun section, it's not really a surprise. But yeah, behind me there's not too much happening either, at least not in my viewing distance, not even on the map. So right now it feels like this is more like a solo race that I'm just doing on my own now. Maybe the rally tires were, the off-road tires weren't the best choice here. I still felt like, just due to how rough the off-road section can be, that alone was a good reason to use these, but it might not have been the better choice for the majority of the track. I just feel that with rallycross sometimes it's better to be a bit more careful about the off-road section because that can really mess you up. Then again, considering all the mistakes that I'm making on the road section, it's just... yeah. Didn't really pay off the way I wanted to. So I'm just going to drive through that guy there. A ghost waiting at the bus stop, apparently. Coming back through here, we can actually see 5th and 6th position. A person in 5th position might be doing something similar to me right now, of what I did in the first lap. At least that gave me a bit more distance between me and them, so it might be good here. 50% through the race, so 2 more laps to go. I'm trying to be a bit quicker now. This time around I didn't have too many issues with that little jump and all the bumps right after. But yeah, there's also this weird little dip in the ground which can really screw you over. I feel like for off-roading in this game, there is the obvious difference between the way the roads are made in the world and how the off-roading part is, because the off-roading has this really rough grid of pixels or vertices which are like a meter apart or something. So that stuff can be really rough, especially when you look at the Guangjin off-road sections. It's just really obvious how some parts are just really spiky and all of that. Compared to the regular roads which are made using splines, and therefore they are just so much smoother than the off-road sections. And that can really screw you over in a lot of ways on the off-roads. Because not only is your base grip quite a bit lower, basically a lot of these off-road vertices, due to being so rough, they act like little jumps, so you barely have time where you're really gripping down on the dirt and you're just constantly just scooting along the surface, and that makes it really difficult to get enough grip to keep any control of the vehicle. Yeah, coming back onto the little dirt section over here. Also another thing that's really important with these cars, and I forgot to mention that in the other event, with inline 4 engines, especially with something that's a bit heavier like the Fortum over here, you gotta be in your power bandwidth when it comes to the revs. So if you're going far below 4000 RPM, you are not going to have a good time. And if you're just completely losing control and jumping off the track, that's also going to be the same case for different reasons. But yeah, here we are getting back on track and trying to keep it going. But yeah, ideally you want to be somewhere between 4000 RPM and the red line to really get the power down, to get the acceleration, and keep going quite quickly. If you go too far below the 4K line, you might end up really slowing down and it's gonna feel really sluggish all of a sudden. Likely also a bit to do with the turbocharger, but who knows. Anyways, last lap of the first track. Seems like not too much is going to happen anymore. We have a few people that are way ahead of me and a few that are far behind, so I'm just once again still on my own. That was a slightly nicer drift. I also kinda hope that the devs do something about the potholes, because I think it's kinda getting a bit ridiculous at some points. if we lose much more of the surface layer of the road, we might just be driving on the one below it. At least in some areas. This one, for example, is pretty well kept and nice looking. Just what you would expect, but the main roads, which are obviously getting quite a bit more use, they are really run down, and yeah, for racing there can be quite a few incidents just because you hit a weird little pothole at the wrong time. Going back around through here, the people in front of me have already finished. So I'm just carrying it home at this point. Looking down another little road sign, but here we are, finally done. Maybe I could have gone with a few smoother tracks for these kind of races, because these small cars, they are really struggling with some of the bumps, but I feel like especially this track with the tight little section in the town is more appropriate for small cars, so didn't feel too bad. The next one is kind of a classic. Hallam Fields Rally Course, or as I like to call it, the Hallam Shaker, because this is going to be very rough. This track has also been featured in the first round of the Big Block Rally Course. So heavier cars with heavier engines and yeah, a lot of bumps. Although some cars from this subclass have also been in there, so we had the Zyno and the SM. But yeah, this time around we also have a few other vehicles in here which are a bit lighter. And I think Vormi actually also won the first race. I was meaning to keep an eye on that, but I evidently didn't. I'm pretty sure he won the first one, so yeah. Congrats. Still gonna keep an eye out on the performance difference. And in the end, while there were a few suggestions on maybe cutting down on the ultralights in favor of the heavier cars, since there are 3 ultralights available for this one. We can see 2 of them in front, which is the little boxy hatchback and also the Mini Cooper. We also have the 2 CV as an option, and actually the other 3 cars here were added later down the line, just as an option. Just through my test driving, I felt like the Fortin would be giving me a better, more consistent lap time. Maybe not a faster one, but being able to keep it going straight a bit easier felt like the right thing to do here. And you gotta imagine how much I was struggling with the other cars if this is what I went with and the first race went that poorly. But yeah, this section, this is rough, especially if you just slowly bump yourself over to a side. Try to get back through the wall, but yeah, I can either reset or try to find another gap there, but I'm not pushing anything over at this speed. And yeah, people just had a rough time here, which is kind of to be expected. But yeah, this has been an event which is hard to set up. For the rally events, as fun as they are, you're really gonna spend a lot of time on the suspension setup. I even made a video somewhat recently completely overhauling my suspension setup for my Vista. And yeah, stuff like that you gotta stay on top of if you want to have a good chance here. So we had some people who joined in for the first time, and I'm almost sorry because this is just not gonna be an easy event to get started with. Once again, if you wanna join these events, by the way, TWL server Discord invite is down in the description. So that's the best way to check the stuff out and stay on top of what we have planned for the future weeks. Usually the events are being announced about half a week before they happen, so it's not the longest run up, but I'm usually also trying to make it not the most elaborate vehicle setups. Yeah, coming back around from the first lap, we still have to go through Helm itself, but then we are going back to the start-finish. So we once again have 3 people in front of me, 2 behind me, and me just being somewhere in the middle without the best chance of getting back to any of them. Unless I spin out a lot and then get overtaken by the people behind me. But I'm at least somewhat still in sight of Finny in front of me, so I might be able to do something here, but yeah, for the time being, I'm just trying to catch back up. But yeah, Chess is currently in front, first position. Oh, just got overtaken by Vormir as I said it. So these are fighting it out for first and second, and I think they are both in the lighter vehicles, but once again, once it gets onto the rougher dirt sections, they might not have the best time with them. I tried these roads, these tracks in those vehicles, and yeah, there's a reason why I chose to go with the Fortem instead. Yeah, I managed to get through the first part here a bit better. It gets a bit smoother as it goes on. I think right around, somewhere around here, it should be transitioning to be a bit smoother. But yeah, it's still rough. Still rough and tumble road over here. But yeah, Finny also doing a decent job at keeping up. Chess fell a bit further back apparently. But yeah, I'm not as close to Finny as I would like to be at this point. But there's still a decent bit to go. I think we have like 3 laps in this race. So yeah, we are just over the halfway point. So there's still some moves to be done, positions to be gained or maybe lost. I mean, I feel pretty safe about not going below 4th position unless I really screw up, but yeah, there's still potential for maybe getting into 3rd position. The first 3 are definitely bunching up quite a bit right now, so yeah, I think there's a point to be made about this being somewhat balanced off-road. It's still a bit maybe more in favor of ultralights, but I think it's working out for this event. Might not be something that I want to repeat in this constellation because it can easily be very skewed to a particular set of vehicles, but I mean, this is just for fun, and fun is definitely to be had here. Okay, from what I've seen, Vormir and Chess were just neck and neck after the last turn. Finny may have fallen back a little bit. So let's see what the final lap brings. This turn also not to be underestimated. You can absolutely drive off the road there and towards the ocean. Gotta be careful about that. Happened quite a few times in the other event, but back then that was before quite a few updates. We didn't even have the checkpoints back then. Yeah, some spicy moments. Car wanted to turn around on me, but I managed to keep it somewhat facing forward. And Finny is also not having the best time, so yeah, slowing way down there. And you can just see how much the car is bouncing. I think I got a pretty decent setup for my suspension. This is originally meant for a heavier version with one of the V8s as an engine. So might have to do something about it, and yeah, there you could see Finny just spun out. So I'm now right on his back, hopefully able to overtake. But this is now finally a battle for position once more. And also Vormir and Chess not being too far up ahead. Here we go. Try to go for a cutback, but that didn't really happen. Finny was just a tiny bit too fast for that maneuver. And yeah, I think I'm about to massively overcook it, getting into the dirt, onto the rougher terrain, and that just, yeah, was the end of the battle. A fun yet short-lived battle to be had, but this is how that basically ended now. Unless Finny is going to also mess up a bit, then we might be back in competition, but right now it seems like it's just gonna be 4th place finish, and that's gonna be it. Last few corners again. At this point I'm really overcooking it. I'm just trying to get something out of this, maybe find a lucky line, go a bit faster and still catch up again, but no such luck. The position was forfeit when I spun out, and this is how it ends. So yeah. But yeah, 4th position with a little bit of a battle is still better than 1st or 2nd without anything happening, I think. But yeah, now we are on to the final race at A-Ball. This is A-Ball Reverse Extended. You're gonna see what the extended part is about in a bit. And this is the only race where I'm actually using one of the ultralights. This is based on a classic Mini Cooper rally car which has been present in Gran Turismo 2. So I just wanted to get something similar to that, and it was the entire inspiration for this event. I just didn't really feel like committing to ultralights only. Maybe if I do this again with smoother tires that might be an idea, but yeah, I immediately overcook it and go straight off the track after, so yeah, good job me. I had really good laps around here during the testing, but for some reason I don't think the race itself is going to really come together. Overtaking random right here. Back into my usual 4th position. And immediately having another issue and just sliding past the gate. Going off track, but it's fine. I at least keep a position, but I'm slowly falling behind compared to the 3 people ahead of me. So this isn't really ideal. I feel like the car is just so different that I needed maybe a bit of a warm-up and I just didn't get it. But the reason why we are doing A-Ball in reverse is especially that jump and also some of the upcoming bumps. It's just a lot smoother on the opposite direction than what it's meant to be. There's another 2 bumps after these turns, and they are also so much better going in this direction. Because you are hitting them slow, you can go into the dip and then come off the other end. This wasn't ideal, but it still worked out decently well. Doing it in the regular direction is just not amazing. And now we are about to come up onto the extended version. So instead of going straight and right into the start-finish area, we are just going to go into the infield. So this is another actually separate track in just regular usage, but this is also really fun if you don't mess it up, and this for some reason just gave me a weird little bump that completely flipped my car on its side. But yeah, this is a fun little section that I wanted to have in here. So this is why I decided to go for it. Now we are coming back onto the regular track. This checkpoint has been stretched out, so if need be I can even go into the pit lane from here and come back right to the start finish. Going a bit too far on the inside. Having a bit of a problem going back onto the track actually and running into that bump there. So yeah, this is once again not really... it's an event that's not really happening at my time, and at that point I've been so tired that I couldn't really get a good lap together. It was still a fun event, and we are still having, I think, like 2 laps left of all of this, but I don't think there's gonna be too much proper fighting happening. At least I'm slowly getting the hang of the car again, so we have a few nice drifts here. But it's a bit too late compared to all the issues I had in the first lap. But being able to slide around the track like this, it feels nice, it looks amazing. But I needed to do this from lap 1 already in order to stay in competition. Now I'm just very far away from everybody else, and unless they have some issues, I might not be able to catch back up with them. And this was a nice little smooth jump here. So almost back onto the infield section. Here we go. I had a really tough time figuring out that checkpoint position. Felt a bit weird, but there's a range of angles where I usually would want that checkpoint to be at, where it's just completely invisible when you approach it, and that wasn't any good. But yeah, for some reason also that bump just completely spun me around again. So some of these don't really go my way. I may need to straighten out a bit earlier. That might be the trick, but couldn't do it. Might be happening in a later lap, but not right now at least. Yeah, and once again everybody in front of me is just too far away, and so is everybody behind me. I might have a bit of lapping going on, looking at how close first is going to get to last, and yeah, this is also how I got a good bit of engine damage, so that wasn't amazing. I think this might have also been the one track where I didn't use rally tires. I mean, off-road tires, of course. I don't know why I keep saying rally tires here. The thing is, they make the car grip almost too much and sometimes cause it to do weird little grip rolls almost. So I enjoyed the slidey bit a bit more, even though I really needed a bit more warm up into getting this started and doing this correctly. But yeah, sliding around the track definitely felt quite good, and with the rally tires, once again off-road tires of course, equipped, it just didn't come together. Yeah, most other drivers are on the infield right now. Again, the first two are slowly catching up to the person in last position. And I might actually have to go for a little pit stop here, over here in a moment. I'm getting close to overheating the engine, which is really not good. Can actually see some people on the other parts of the track there. So yeah, there are potential problems with this kind of thing. Trying to keep it together on the bump, but slowing down way too much. Going over it sideways was not the best thing to happen, but with it being pretty much in the middle of a corner, you gotta try and get this right, but it's really difficult. And now I'm just hitting the a drone there while trying to get into the pit lane, so here it goes. Gonna wait for the gate to open, which is kind of annoying, but what can you do? Just gonna quickly repair and drive back onto the track. So it's nice that at least this one has a decent pit lane. But yeah, everybody else is just so far away from me now. Chessbot is actually going over the jump there, so... Oh no, we're already past the jump. That was Finny doing the jump, and they were already 2 corners ahead of him, so yeah. GG's. Fun event. But I kinda wish we had a few more people coming in for this one, which could have given me a bit more stuff to do, a few more battles and that kind of thing. Actually defending my position. Right now we got a few really fast people. Me being somewhat in the midfield and 2 new event participants who, just joined one of the worst events in order to get started with. But yeah, we got Chess and Vormir finishing first and second. Me doing this jump again, and once again on this direction, it feels really nice. Chess also uploads his POV on the entire race, so that might be an interesting one to check out here. It's actually going to be definitely a bit more competitive than what you've seen from me in this particular race. I tried so hard to keep it together for this one, at least for one lap, but it didn't work out. Different ways to fail in every single lap for the same sector. That's kinda amazing. Not in the most positive way, though. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this race. Just carrying it home once again. And with that being said, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed and see you guys next time. Until then, have a good one and bye bye.